Hey everyone, welcome to the Master Your Mind series. I'm your host, Angela Rankin, and today I am so super excited to welcome Dr. Scott Graves. He is an acupuncture physician, and the reason he is here and why I am doing this series is, I kind of am taking you guys on a journey of where I came from through my spiritual awakening, but also when I started my online business, I really fell into fear and doubt and procrastination. So I wanted to give you the how, because that was the piece that was missing for me. So throughout all of these interviews, I really have brought in experts to give you the how on what they have done, as well as what I have done. So Dr. Graves, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about what you do as an acupuncture physician and how you help your clients.
Sure. Yeah. In Chinese medicine, there's a lot of different modalities and different practitioners across the United States. They find their niches in very particular things. I do a combination of acupuncture. I do a lot of food therapy, herbal therapy. And then the last part that I really focus on is the emotional side of people's healing. And people generally don't think that Chinese medicine is most associated with our emotions and our different states of being, but the whole entire basis of Chinese medicine starts with that. And so that's the area that involved where I healed the most. And so it's the part in the clinic that I focus on the most with people that come to see me. But yeah, so it's a combination of all those different things, but I really love doing emotional work with people because such profound healing can happen when you go into the emotional side of people's health. So.
Oh my goodness. I just love that. What I'm going to pull out from that is just Chinese medicine connected to emotional healing. Boom. Can we just drop the mic right now? Because seriously, that is, I think so many Westerners don't understand that is connected to emotional healing. That's huge. I love that you said that. That is a huge piece. And so I kind of want to go into a little bit about how you went through your history and how you healed some of that trauma that you had, because we all have it, do we not?
You totally do.
Yeah.
I get patients come in sometimes and they say, "Oh no, everything from my past is resolved." And I think that there's a pretty big amount of denial when that comes in. It's like, even after the thousands of hours I've processed through stuff that's happened to me, there's always still tons of stuff there to process through. Stuff comes up every day that you got to take a look at and focus on and be with and be present with and release on. So yeah, it's really important.
Yeah. So what did you do exactly? And I know that you kind of told me a little bit about it, but you just wrote down when these emotions would come up, right? And how did you do that? It took you a while. It took you some time to kind of go through, but tell the viewers about how you did that, because I think it's so important to really just get that out there, that there are so many different ways to go through this and it's going to be unique for everyone. But
Sure.
What resonated with me was really how you did it. And I think it's a unique thing.
Yeah, so I'll be happy to talk about that. Let me just give a little bit of backstory that brought me into that. So in 2001, I went into a very deep, dark depression for the first time. And I was actually in a very conservative school, and I was going into seminary at that time and went into this deep, dark depression. And it lasted for around 11 years. And I had gone to therapy and psychologists and I took pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, I read hundreds of books, tried all kinds of different things, and none of that stuff really worked for me. And I finally, when I decided that I wanted to go to medical school and learn about Chinese medicine, I remember watching a video that didn't resonate with me at the time. We're exposed to things and those things don't resonate with us. And then years later, we're like, okay, how come I didn't see this the first time I was exposed to it? We just weren't ready for it, Right. So it was EFT, or Emotional Freedom Techniques. And I watched this hour and a half long video called The Tapping Solution. And I said, oh, that's cool. But I never put it together with what I was going through. until I finally started realizing that that was the basis for all of the suffering that I was continuing to have. And so there was two memories for me, one at the age of 21 and then another one at the age of 4, which were the cornerstone memories that drove and fueled all of this depression. And just to summarize it really quickly, is I felt at the age of 21 that I was literally abandoned by God. I had this very chilling experience where I just felt like, my perception of God was that he got sucked out of the room essentially, and there was no presence there. There was no felt sense of anything. And I just felt like abandoned. And that also happened to me, the same energetic, the same emotions happened to me when I was 4 years old, like as a wound, one of my inner child wounds. It was the same thing. It was the fear of being abandoned. And the two just coincided because it was like we have an activating event when we're younger, and then we have this major event which like kind of blows things open. And that's how it is for everybody I've ever worked with. And so when I processed through the emotions that were in each one of these memories, and I released and let them go, the depression that I had for 11 years literally disappeared. And this was all happening while I was going through medical school. So it was a very I'm learning about Chinese medicine, and then I'm actually implementing a part of the medicine in a modern way that is the most powerful basis of helping people to heal. And so I'm a very left-brained, logical person, and going into Chinese medicine has really developed my right side, my intuitive brain, my creative side, but I wasn't quite in that spot when I first did this. So I approached my emotions very systematically. It's just because it's how I approach things, put structure around them.
Yeah.
And I just came up with every single one of the emotions that was in each one of those events. And I literally sat with each and every emotion, and I totally and completely welcomed every single emotion, like how those emotions were experienced in my physical body. The sensations, the pictures, the sounds, every last drop of it. And, they're called feelings for a reason because we feel them in our body somewhere. Like emotions are the objective state of experience, and feelings are the subjective experience of them. So when we have these feelings like anger, when you look at a cartoon character, they're always red. Well, if you ever pause to notice when you're actually angry, you'll feel sensations of heat, and you'll feel like throbbing sensations and tension and constriction and pressure. And all these things are happening, but we're usually not present to them. And so I just welcomed and let all that stuff come up. And to be honest with you, processing through both of those memories was honestly the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. It was like the pinnacle of all the suffering that I've ever gone through. And I was just allowing it to wash back in, because most people will take their suffering and they'll just like really push it and smash it down. They'll suppress it. And then they'll just pretend like it's not there. But there's a great book that came out on the Western side of things called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. He's a medical doctor. And his whole premise is that you can shove these things down as long as you want to, but eventually they'll manifest into like bodily expressions of things that you experience. And essentially another way to say that is they'll manifest into disease and health problems. And the basis behind a lot of those health problems is the emotional structures that we have that we've never dealt with, that are still inside of us. And the old adage of time heals all wounds is not even remotely true. Time just helps us to push it down into the basement of our subconscious so that we're not consciously aware of it anymore. So that's basically how I did it. I used emotional freedom techniques to process through that. And I still use that in the clinic to this day, but I also use the Sedona method. They're basically just different forms to put, different modalities to put structure around how to process through your emotions. So that's the really short story of it.
Oh, I just love it. I mean, it's so simple, but yet it is so difficult to go through those things. And I just love giving that to the viewers because it's something that they can do, that they can just do. And it's if you really want to break through your limitations and truly unleash your superstar self, and that is what this is all about, is really going there and acknowledging those emotions. And that is exactly the same thing that happened for me. And suppression or running, I mean, every time something would really, and I would feel it physically as well, like you said, the anger, I mean, I think my ears turn red. Yeah, they do. And I'm telling you, it's like, but I would just suppress it. And I'd be like, no, I can't be angry. No, I'm fine. I'm okay. And really, it would keep coming and coming until I finally would actually just acknowledge that and deal with whatever that was behind it and the root cause, and I think that I love that because I saw a lot of that in your center is you help people get to the root of these problems, and I tell you, if that was not the hardest thing for me is, okay, this event would pop up in my memory and I'd kind of deal with it, but there was a root behind it, and really pulling that out took doing that true inner child work. And I love how you did it. And I just wanted to share that with everyone because I think it's just unique. It's simple, but yet it's, and it's freedom. It's freedom. Right. And to me, that's what I'm passionate about is helping people truly get free from this stuff that it's just like, just deal with it. It's okay. It is okay. But you know what I love? I wanted to ask you, what exactly is the Sedona method? You mentioned that, but I just wanted to know what that is exactly.
Sure. Well, the goal of the Sedona method is exactly the same as it is with tapping or with emotional freedom techniques. It's just a way to release and let go of unwanted emotions and thoughts from your system. That's very simply it. So people get hung up on the tapping and the order and the words. Well, with the Sedona method, there's no tapping, there's no order really. It's just, you just learn to quietly within yourself be with your experience of your emotions and your thoughts. And then you just set an inner intention to set them free. And that's one of the biggest differences. Like I have my master's degree in counseling and psychology too. And my best friend is a therapist, so I'm not saying anything bad about this, but there's a huge difference like with therapy between just simply talking about your experiences, which a lot of people don't even talk about their experiences. So that's very needed. But there's a big difference between talking about your stuff and actually setting an intention to release and let things go. I talk to so many people, and if I walked up to 20 random people on the street and said, so give me the exact way that you release and let go of an emotion from your system. I've done it before. People just kind of blank stares and like, I don't know, because you'll notice that like human beings in general, if they don't do this inner work, their lives continue on largely the same because they haven't addressed their inner world. They haven't taken a peek at what's really there. They don't know how to go into those things. There's no roadmap. There's nobody who's modeled it before. It's not talked about in Western medicine. So there's a lot, like this is just the unexplored side of healing. And in my estimation, it's the absolute most powerful because you can change your entire reality just by simply changing or releasing and surrendering what's happening to you on the inside.
You know what? In every single one of my interviews, I scream this because for me, it was so true. People would say, oh, well, just release that or surrender. But I was like, well, okay, great. That's great. But how? Yeah. How, what do you want me to do? Because I will do it. It hurts so bad. What does that mean? But this is why I have brought these people together, because you guys really give the how, and everyone's unique and going to go through a unique experience. And we all have these unique ways of getting there, but it is the how. And I just absolutely love it. The other thing I wanted to mention that you said, which was so huge to me, was that suppressing these emotions will eventually manifest into disease. I just wanted to just highlight that, because that is like, hello, are we hearing that? Like, stop doing that to yourself. It is literally doing it. Like, just let it go. Let it go. Yeah.
Well,
And it's acknowledging it, right?
it is. It's funny that you say that because even about a month ago, like again, the work never stops for me. Like there's things that always
Right.
constantly come up for me. I'm not a perfect human being by any stretch. But it was about a month ago, I started getting some lower back pain. And I got a lot of tools to know what's going on in the lower back. Your kidneys are there in Chinese medicine. The emotion that's associated with the kidneys and the adrenals is fear. And if you're having, so it was like a weakness in the lower back. And it got really intense one day. So I sat down and I got into a meditative space and I said, well, what areas of my life right now do I feel particularly weak where I don't feel like I have power over certain areas of my life where there's a certain expression of fear. And since the lower back is the very bottom of our support structure, because our spine is our support structure, the other question I started asking was, where do I not feel completely supported in my life right now? And sure enough, when I started asking those questions, the tears started to come. And the fullness of those emotions, the real source of the weakness, the real source of the fears, the real source of how I wasn't feeling supported, those things came up. And I sat down for a good hour and a half and processed through everything that came up. And it was stuff that, to be honest with you, I mean, I've been really intentional about dealing with this stuff, but I even pushed some of it down because it's just uncomfortable, it's painful.
Right.
But finally I sat down and processed through it. And literally the next day, the weakness and the pain in my lower back disappeared. Because I knew it was emotional in nature. My diet's good. I do constant care with acupuncture. I get regular chiropractic, assessments. So there's a lot of structures in place for me to have that. So yeah, even it comes up all the time to deal with the things that come up for you in your life. And it doesn't mean that everything's emotional either. I get that a lot. You're saying everything's emotional? No, not everything's emotional, but oftentimes there is a huge emotional basis to the stuff that's manifesting either really acutely or especially the chronic stuff. Like if you had a health problem for 10 or 20 years, there's absolutely an emotional basis to that, whatever it is. So it's really important to remember that.
That's huge. I mean, it's just so huge. I hope everyone really gets that and hears that, because it's like, you know what? There is a way out of that chronic issue, chronic pain. And so that's hope. I hear hope and freedom, and I love that. I mean, that's what I stand for, is just freedom and hope. So one of the other things that I love about you, and is so important on my journey as well, has been food and gut health. And the way that you have named this, I just love it. And it's called the Nasty Nine. So tell me what the Nasty Nine is, because seriously, I'm like, hello.
Sure. Yeah. So the Nasty Nine is when I look across the spectrum of all the health problems that people have today, I'm a very simple person. I do not like things complicated. And when I look at the totality of our health problems, there's 9 major foods or substances that we put into our body, which may be responsible, I'm just making an estimate here, may be responsible for 80% of the health problems that people have. And you begin to see them over and over and over again in people's eating, their diets, the attachments that they have to those foods, addictions essentially. And what I've seen is that when I started getting people to take those out of their diets, the healing process completely speeded up for most people. And then, of course, along the way, people constantly feel drawn back into having these foods because there are, again, emotional structures in place that are fueling why people want these things in the first place. I've had to deal with that myself. So one of the foods in the Nasty Nine is refined sugar. And refined sugar in the United States comes from genetically modified beets. And one of the main pesticides that they use is, the herbicides, is glyphosate. And glyphosate, there was a man who was awarded originally $289 million because the court proved that glyphosate, which is known as Roundup, it's produced by Monsanto, and it was the cause of this man's lymphoma, I believe, so his cancer. And so with refined sugar, that is one of the things that's on the nasty 9 list, because refined sugar is essentially like poor man's cocaine. Like the same parts of the brain that light up when you do actually have cocaine, they light up when you eat and consume sugar. And so getting somebody to come off sugar, or dairy's another one, you know, people can usually come off of those things for short periods of time, but then they usually go back into them. I say, well, even avoiding them for short periods of time is good. And then you get to start seeing, when you cut them out and then you reintroduce them, how many awful symptoms the body will give you right away when you start consuming those. I had a woman from Texas, I'll never forget it. She's a hoot. And she called me one day. She's like, Dr. Scott, she's like, I didn't avoid the dairy because Mexicans love their cheese, right? It's
oh, come on.
Right.
Forget it.
And Mexican food's like some of my favorite food. Like queso derretido is so good. But anyway, so she hadn't had dairy in 30 days. And all of a sudden she gives me a call. It was late on a Friday night. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's been awful. She's like, I've been in the bathroom, like all these weird things. And she's like, it's like a flood. And it's because when we're having dairy or sugar or these things every 4 or 5 days, biochemically, their effects really stay in the system. So if you go for long periods of time without them and then reintroduce them, then you'll start to get the effect of what these things actually have in the system. So the nasty 9 is just a list of these foods like dairy, wheat, not specifically saying gluten, because wheat, again, it's a genetically altered food, but it also the herbicide that's used is glyphosate as well. It's used with most of these genetically modified foods. Another one would be, you know, the other ones that are genetically modified are corn and soy, canola oil. So these are things that are a part of the nasty 9 list. And what's important about this list, and I'm huge on this in the clinic, is Chinese medicine is all about taking personal responsibility for your health. And unfortunately, the Western model is, here's your pill that should make me all better. Well, there's zero personal responsibility in just taking a pill and thinking that it's going to fix everything. Like a pill will never be able to supply you with nutritional deficiencies. Most pills will never be able to detoxify your body from heavy metals and heavy chemicals. And those are the things that affect people. So when you're just expecting to take a pill for something, it's essentially a way for you to avoid the emotional structures that are in your life that are fueling why you're having these foods, which are damaging and harming your health. And birthed out of that, I actually created this online course because I want to create other courses in the future. I'm going to create a course on depression coming up because that's what I healed from. But this course is, I wrote it because digestion is the foundation for all of health. And so people think, well, digestion's different than what causes Alzheimer's. And I say, no, like the basis of why you have Alzheimer's is a digestive issue. Your depression, it's digestive. Your headaches, they're digestive. The PMS and cramping you have, it's digestive. And so it doesn't matter what health problem you have, there's always a digestive basis. And this literally is in many of the ancient Chinese manuals when it comes to health in the body. They talk about stomach and stomach qi and stomach yin. And if the stomach doesn't have what it needs, the rest of the body is just going to fail. So I made a course, it's called Total Gut Transformation. You can find it at totalguttransformation.com. And it's a full course on how to heal your digestion, and the whole list of the nasty 9 is there. And it's just a really simple way for people to have the knowledge that they need in order to transform their gut. Because the first thing you need is knowledge. Like people say, like I know tons of people who think that consuming yogurt is healthy. I'm sorry to say, but yogurt is not healthy. Like the dairy we have today, even if it's organic, it feeds what we call dampness in the body, and dampness like slows everything down, and it really harms your digestive system. So I don't recommend for anybody to have dairy because it's just not a product for people that are food for people that are. So yeah, that's why I'm in the Total Gut Transformation course.
Yay. I love that. And you know, it's so, I have personally experienced exactly what you said, where I stopped eating dairy because my stomach was being really strange and I just stopped. And there was no reason really why. I was just like, I'm just going to take the dairy out because I had taken the meat out because I was having some serious digestive problems, stomach issues. Took that out. I got a little bit better, but then I was still having, and I noticed that when I would eat anything dairy, that it would hurt. So I took that out. And it's so funny. It has been, I think, about 2 months since I've had dairy. And then I have 3 kids. So like, okay, the ice cream calls, and I'm like, I had one ice cream and it hurt so bad. I will never touch dairy again because of how bad it hurt. And I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that was, but you, like how you said, when I took it out and then I just had an ice cream. So I'm like, it's just one, oh, it was not fun and it really hurt. And I was like, wow, that's really gross, like, but also when you go through pain like that over an ice cream, you're like, oh no, thank you.
Right.
Like that does not make me feel good. And so, yeah, I mean, you gotta go back and try it, but I did experience that and it was not fun. So, so true, so important. And I love what you have. So tell the viewers, because you have a gift to give. And I'm so excited about this because I want it because it's simple and easy and the word detox. So, hey, what do you have for the viewers that they can get from you?
Yeah, so I took a poll of my own email list and also from a much larger natural health website. And we said, if we created a course, what would be one of the things that you would want a course on? And one of the main things that came up, the three things that came up were digestion, detoxification, and dealing with pain. And so digestion and detoxification are very similar things. Dealing with your digestion is a slower process. Detoxification is a little bit faster, but I wanted to come up with a way that was really simple, didn't involve any supplements, but you can utilize the power of food to help people to detoxify very safely for 10 days. In fact, I've had people that have done it for much longer periods of time and seen such incredible benefits. Even my own father, he's done it twice now, and he did it. He finished about 2 weeks ago, and he was working while he was doing this. Sometimes it's not suggested because you're lowering your caloric intake, but he was working. And my dad's not, a big guy to begin with, but he lost 16 pounds
Wow.
in 9 days. And yeah, and my parents are pretty healthy now because of my influence, but but
Awesome.
yeah, it's just consuming nothing but vegetables and fruits for 10 days. Now, a lot of my Chinese practitioner colleagues, I advocate for having a lot of juices, vegetable juices. And in Chinese medicine, cold or raw foods are something that throughout history have been, not advocated for. But in Chinese medicine, they've never had a juicer before so what happens is that it strips away all the cellulose, which is what the digestive system has to process. And that's what the Chinese were pointing to in our medicine, saying that it really takes a lot of digestive resources. But when you juice your vegetables and fruits, it takes away that, and all of that literally just gets sucked up. So I'm a huge fan of juicing your vegetables and doing a 10-day fruit and vegetable detoxification is a very powerful way to really cleanse your body out. So yeah, so the free gift is that, because if you really want to transform and make a huge impact in your health in a really short period of time, I highly advocate for that.
Yay! I love that. So you guys, if you heard that, you can get the 10-day detox in the email that was sent out to you attached to this interview, or in the membership site. You can grab that 10-day detox. You guys got to get that because it is so important just to feel better, Oh my gosh, I love it. So everyone that's watching, thank you so much. And you guys stay tuned to the next interviews because there's just more life-changing, transformational information coming to you. And I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Scott, for being here. You are awesome.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, you guys, have a great day.
Awesome.
Bye.
Yeah.